Hello and welcome once again to the Literature Podcast. Today we'll be discussing the Harlem Renaissance with our guest here, Bruce Bokikyo.
Hey, thanks. Nice to be here.
For our listeners who aren't aware, I'll give a brief summary of what this movement was before continuing. Harlem Renaissance was a movement centered in the city of Harlem where African Americans expressed themselves through music and art, such as Drop Me Off in Harlem.
Yeah, the music during this period had a major impact. Not only dropped me off in Harlem, but also some of the major musical changes in jazz, including the introduction of piano and the piano style that became known as the Harlem Stride.
Definitely. I want to touch on some of the artists and mainly musical, but do you have anyone you want to start with in particular?
Well, since you brought up music, we should continue from there with
James P. Johnson, who's actually a player of the Harlem Stride style and one of the best of all time.
Johnson was accomplished for his time and
really started the Harlem Stride style
in its entirety and had a number of great tracks and recorded with Bessie Smith, who was also a very popular singer at the time.
More importantly, in my mind, was how much he ended up influencing Duke Ellington.
Ellington ended up following a lot of his examples, and even though Johnson pioneered the style, Ellington really took it further and really, I mean, Johnson didn't have as much financial backing as Ellington did, for example. Didn't have as many people supporting him, but I mean, he really did start the movement. So
yeah, even though he still was a truly great artist and displayed his music, writing in his pieces. Speaking of great music writers, how about Fats Waller? He was a great music writer for the time, and another student taught from Johnson. His influence really heavily impacted the Harlem Swing, and it was heavily impacted by the Harlem Swing, from his mentor.
and he definitely made some great pieces during this time. And since he was taught from Johnson, it's not really surprising he also ended up making some great tracks as well with like songs like "Ain't Misbehavin'."
Yeah, it was an impactful, very popular piece of the time. Even better was the fact that he collaborated with other great musicians like Louis Armstrong and Andy Razif, who made songs like "Ain't Misbehavin'."
Yeah. Another person who's, well, like we mentioned before, with Bessie Smith, who was also a prominent singer at the time, really was influential in her own right.
Prominent is an understatement. She was very unique from many of the other white singers that were popular at the time. She stood out at a full 6 feet tall and was a hearty drinker. This obvious wasn't seen well by many, but she still sold many copies of her hit song "Weepin' Willow Blues."
So that's sadly all we got time for tonight, but I thank everyone for tuning in. I hope to see you next time. Maybe it's too harsh.